This is the toughest prison in Costa Rica, a place where humid, stifling cells are packed to the brim. With not enough beds to go around, many inmates are forced to sleep on the bare floor. The prison's resources are stretched thin, so inmates find themselves waiting in line for everything, even the restroom. Beyond the grim living conditions, they also have to stay alert to dangers from other inmates. Many of these prisoners are among Costa Rica's most violent criminals. A single word could potentially put your life in danger. What pushes many inmates to the brink of despair is the constant fear and tension that pervades the prison atmosphere. This feeling can stretch a day into what feels like a year. This harsh place is none other than Costa Rica's notorious reform prison. Costa Rica, situated in Latin America, borders Nicaragua to the north and Panama to the south. Its geographic location makes it a key transit route for South American drug cartels heading north to Mexico and the United States. As a permanently neutral country, Costa Rica has no military, only a police force. This situation has led to an increasingly serious drug problem and a persistent high crime rate. To fight crime, Costa Rica has enacted strict laws, particularly for drug-related offenses. For these crimes, sentences typically start at a minimum of 20 years. In the nation's capital, San Jose, most convicts end up in the reform prison. Today, our old friend Roy will put himself in the shoes of a newly admitted inmate, taking a 7-day journey inside the prison walls to see if it lives up to its terrifying reputation. The first step in any prison is registration and inspection by the guards. They record inmate details and check thoroughly for any contraband, as prisoners have been known to go to surprising lengths to sneak in forbidden items. One story tells of a high-ranking inmate who hid a dagger in a place too shocking to mention, leaving the inspecting guards astounded. With the advent of cutting-edge security technology and equipment, smuggling contraband into the prison has become an almost insurmountable task for inmates. After completing the necessary checks, the guards usher Roy to the isolation wing. This is where new prisoners usually spend their first couple of weeks, providing the guards ample time to evaluate them and determine their appropriate block assignments. Roy, no stranger to prison life, understands the importance of building good relationships with fellow inmates. However, it's a rude awakening to learn that his new cellmates are all guilty of major crimes, with robbery, kidnapping, and drug trafficking as their common charges. Faced with these seasoned criminals, Roy dares not put on airs, and instead hopes to navigate his first night unscathed. Costa Rica's reform prison consists of 3 sections, A, B, and C. Section A is home to the most dangerous offenders. For Roy's safety, the guards decided against placing him there and assigned him to Section B instead. Nevertheless, the sight that met Roy was still sufficiently terrifying. Pay close attention, and you'll see these intimidating inmates trying to unsettle the newcomer. Their loud yells and banging against the iron bars could easily rattle a novice. Fortunately, Roy's extensive prison history, coupled with the watchful eyes of the camera, allow him to maintain his composure. Once Roy steps into the block, the prison guards are no longer the ones in charge. The inmate leaders call the shots. Escorted by a group of inmates, Roy is introduced to Luis, the undisputed boss of the block. Luis outlines the do's and don'ts for Roy. Even in front of the camera, Luis isn't shy to threaten Roy, warning him to adhere to the rules or face harsh punishments. Next up, Luis, the boss, assigns his deputy Michael to get Roy a bed. Michael lays it down for Roy. The top bunk is his if he's willing to pay for it. Otherwise, he'll be stuck sleeping on the cold floor. Unofficial rules like this are commonplace within these prison walls. In the chow line, for instance, cash allows you to jump ahead, even to the point of having others fetch things for you. The service is remarkably thorough. But without the dough, your only option is to patiently wait your turn. By the time it's your go, you might find that all the good stuff is gone. Section B cells are incredibly cramped, bursting at the seams with a motley crew of convicts. You've got murderers, thieves, robbers, and even the mentally unstable. Staying alive till parole requires sticking to a strict code of survival. Michael takes a moment to impress upon Roy the importance of respect and tolerance. After all, he's surrounded by individuals who lean towards violence. Even something as innocuous as a pencil could spark off a brawl or worse. Roy takes this to heart, thanking his lucky stars he's only here for a week. Any longer would be unbearable. Keen on blending in with his fellow inmates, Roy dives into work on his very first day. Luis has him deal with the sewage, the sole waste outlet for a dozen or so cells. The stench nearly makes Roy hurl. Despite the tough job, the payoff is decent. Those who work earn respect and often get assistance when it's mealtime. With the sewage sorted, Roy has a bit of downtime to look around. Suddenly, a striking figure catches his eye, prompting him to wonder if there are female convicts here. Upon asking around, he discovers that they're a different kind of presence in this environment. Intrigued by this, Roy decides to interview this gay couple. The inmate in the red is Allegis, and seated opposite him is his partner, Samantha. They officially became a couple 10 months ago. Allegis was handed an 11-year sentence for robbery, while Samantha got 15 for smuggling drugs into the prison. Their sentences are far from short, and it's the harsh reality of prison life that brought them together. But they face even more pressure, as homosexuality is heavily stigmatized in this prison. Verbal abuses, physical violence, and blatant discrimination are part of their daily lives. Allegis and Samantha share the same cell, sleeping on the same bed. To carve out a bit of privacy, they hang up a curtain. Still, they often face disdain from their fellow inmates. To all this, Samantha remains nonchalant, always ready to resolve conflicts with a bit of fisticuffs. Allegis, however, doesn't seem to have Samantha's resilience. Discussing prison life brings tears to his eyes. His sole wish is for time to speed up so that he and Samantha can finally leave this harsh reality behind. After 2 days in Section B, Roy starts to understand more about the place. He decides to check out the other parts of the prison next. Before he leaves, he chats again with Michael. You'd be surprised at how much a childhood can impact a person. Michael grew up in a slum, his life a constant struggle against hunger and abuse from his stepfather. These harsh experiences pushed Michael towards violence, and he got involved in robbery and kidnapping. Even now, he carries 2 bullets in his thigh, reminders of his past life. Found guilty of 2 murders, Michael was sentenced to 35 years. He's been in the reform prison for 8 years now, and it seems like he's gotten used to life here. He says the scariest thing about this place is how it can strip away a person's humanity. Once Roy steps out of the cell block, he meets Glenn, who's in charge of delivering meals. Glenn is a former U.S. Special Forces soldier who fought in the Iraq War. After retiring, he came to Costa Rica hoping to strike it rich. However, he ended up kidnapping 2 Americans. Their non-stop talking drove Glenn to murder them, landing him a 40-year sentence. Despite being in prison, Glenn has it better than most inmates because he can help smuggle in contraband. He once even smuggled in a dismembered body, although he has a strict no-knife policy. Dangerous inmates like Glenn are pretty common in Section B, but in Section A, every inmate is far more dangerous, forcing the guards there to wear protective vests all the time. Section A is located underground, where guards watch the prisoners through wire mesh. They rarely enter the cells to ensure their safety, ignoring all commotion as long as no one leaves their cells. This careful approach stems from the 2011 riot that caused the death of a guard and 2 inmates, injuring dozens more. Since then, Costa Rica has reassessed its prison safety and turned this facility into the highest security prison in the nation. The cause of the riot was mainly due to the prison conditions, which had become intolerable. The old cells, often referred to as graveyards by inmates, saw daily deaths, with bodies casually buried in any open space. Nowadays, conditions in the prison are much improved, and a new, modern, and humane cell block has been built. The new block, with its luxurious facilities, excellent living conditions, and high food standards, is a world away from the old one. If the old block was hell, then this new one is certainly heaven. It can accommodate up to 800 prisoners, and anyone can apply to live there. Interestingly, despite all these benefits, many cells in the new block remain empty. One inmate explains why. The prisoners here must follow strict prison rules, including a zero-tolerance policy on drug use. This single rule deters most of the inmates. Undoubtedly, the new and old blocks offer 2 starkly different approaches to dealing with prisoners. The new block focuses on reforming prisoners, helping them learn skills and instilling hope for a better future, while the old block treats them like animals, delivering harsh punishment to make them understand the heavy price of their crimes. So, which approach do you think is the correct one? Please share your thoughts in the comment area. That's all for today's video. If you like our content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next episode.